What's up, guys, and welcome back to the garage. Today we're going to jump right into a 1-year review of this Jeep Wrangler Rubicon 4xe. How have we liked it? What are some things that could have gone a little bit better? Some things that have really gone the wrong way? And things that we think maybe Jeep could have done a little bit better. All right, let's get going. All right, so first thing I'd like to discuss is just overall drivability. What's it been like? First things to note, any Jeep owner, anybody who's driven a Jeep will know this, it is loud, especially on the freeway. This is a removable hardtop, means it's not very insulated, if at all. This one is not. Some things we've done to it, we've put the luggage rack on it. Been very happy with this Rhino rack. I've got a video on the install with those, as well as the Casey highlights mount for these light pods, as well as this huge light bar. Now, if you are going to put a light bar on the Jeep, you will get a lot of wind coming underneath here and out the top there. It will cause these fins to vibrate and whistle like you wouldn't believe. What I did to fix that, to stop that vibration and wind whistling rather, is to put a rubber rubber garage door seal on the bottom of this. What I ended up doing was sticking it in the bottommost fin. It acts as a very very nice, very large wind deflector all the way down here. And that stopped it pretty much permanently. It's not falling off in any rain or anything. It stayed on very nicely. So for a couple bucks, worked great. Can't complain about that. The only thing I would caution about on these guys is you can't really take them into a traditional sort of machine car wash. You get the brushes whipping around, you risk them ripping it off, and even potentially worse, tearing this guy off the mount, so off the Jeep even. With that in mind, let's go ahead and jump into, I'll say, probably the most polarizing, most interesting aspect of the Jeep 4xe, and that is the powertrain. So come over here, unlock this guy, and you'll notice it was charging. It's got it plugged into the charger up there. It was charging, however, when you open the hood, the charging system pauses, regardless of whether or not it's connected. And that's due to these two sort of pressure sensors here. If you do press them down, charging resumes. So you lift off on those pressure sensors, charging stops. So getting into the powertrain, we have a combined 375 horsepower. Now that is 275 from the old dinosaur burner in the middle here, and 100 from the electric motor. And that is powered, if you aren't already familiar, by batteries stored underneath the rear seat here. So what do you get for those batteries? You get about 25 miles, 26 miles in the stock Rubicon configuration. What do I mean by that? I mean stock factory wheels and tires. We put on 35-inch tires on 17-inch wheels with a -12 offset. Come over here, give you guys a look at what the -12 offset looks like. I think it looks the business, but takes out probably 2.5 miles of range from that 26 number. See it down more towards 24, 24.5, depending on how friendly you are with that gas pedal. Now, in terms of overall power, 375 horsepower, pretty good. It satisfying, not fantastic, not wonderful. If you want more power, go ahead and put the order in for that Jeep V8. But that's not what this is. My wife wanted this as a commuter primarily, and something she could have fun with in the winter. So that's why we went with the 4xe. When the battery on this runs out, which after 23, 24 miles, if you're commuting, you're suddenly down to 275 horsepower, which is barely adequate at best, especially if you're getting on the freeway up a hill. You got to step on it. It's not very satisfying. Now, as long as you have power in the batteries, 375 horsepower will give you plenty of get up and go to get up to speed, especially in that kind of low speed, high torque range where electric shines. Now, that's kind of all I have to say about that. Engine itself, 2 liter, it's pretty stout. Nothing's wrong with it. Just if they could have given it another 50 horsepower, I think when the battery runs out, you still have that sort of same excellent driving experience that you would have had with the electric helping you. So overall, my opinion on Powertrain, pretty good. Would have benefited from probably another 50 horsepower on the gasoline engine there. Otherwise, we haven't had any issues. I know there's some people who have said charging ports, have caused problems for them. We've got, 13,000 plus miles on this guy, and so far, charging port has worked well, batteries have worked well. After 1 year of ownership, probably 5 to 10% reduction, probably closer to 5% reduction in the storage capacity of the batteries. Now, coming into the interior, you'll notice the fenders are kind of fairly large in how far they protrude. It makes the Jeep look like a fairly large vehicle, but when you get inside, it's actually quite narrow. Now, when my wife drives this, get a little room in there. When my wife drives this, she enjoys the fact that it's narrow because she can reach all the way across to things. But it is a little bit tighter in the back, not as large certainly as the Ram, but it's not bad, and she enjoys being able to reach things. So from that perspective, it's done her quite well. So if we turn this on now, look at the dash, you'll see 35.3 miles per gallon. That is incredible for a Jeep, incredible for most vehicles. Now, that number is not reflective of her true miles per gallon when she commutes to work, where she's driving all the way up to Palo Alto from us, where we're in San Jose. That's a good 30 miles each way. When she was driving to work, we were averaging somewhere closer to 25 to 27 miles per gallon, depending on traffic. This thing does much better in heavy traffic, so if you're in heavy traffic and you want something that does well, this is great. It also does very, very well for sort of city street driving. Right now, we just had our baby. She's on maternity leave. All of our driving is kind of within a 20-mile radius. So with that in mind, we've seen this shoot right on up to 35, 36, somewhere in here. So been very happy with the economy as it is right now. At 35, can't complain. Now, I mentioned, is it worth it? That's probably going to depend on your utility provider pretty heavily. So depending on where you're at and how much your electricity costs, this may or just may not be worth it at all. You're going to pay a premium for the electric vehicle over just a regular gasoline engine. You do get the credit, so that probably offsets it. However, the cost of electricity, where we are at PG&E, depending on what time you're charging, it can range from 20, 30, 40 cents per kilowatt hour all the way up to 60 cents per kilowatt hour, depending on your rate plan and what time of day it is and how the use is at that point in the day. When I did the math, when I was looking at our bill and seeing how much it cost us, it was over $8 a gallon at one point, equivalent, to charge this up. And you're only getting, 25, 26 miles. So if you're averaging 25 miles per gallon, you're paying $8 for 1 gallon of gas, or 1 gallon of gas equivalent. So what we did, not simply because of the car, although because we have the car, we benefit more from it. We had already scheduled to have solar installed in the house. Since we've done that, we generate way more power than we've ever needed, including the needs the car gives, including what the car takes. And with that in mind, all of the electricity the car has used has been quote unquote free. Now, if you're going to buy an electric car and you've already got solar, it's kind of a no-brainer. It'll totally be cheaper than gas. If not, and you have to pay for a solar system, obviously not. If you're thinking about buying an electric car and not doing solar at all, and you just want to buy the car and plug it in, pay for electricity to the grid. Depending on where you're at, probably won't be worth it. Definitely recommend checking into it first. All right, hopping out of the car now, wanted to point out these steps that we're running, the rock slide sort of entry steps. They are a step and a rock rail. These guys have performed very well in terms of fit, finish, fitment. Everything has sort of met my expectations. The one problem was this one sort of drain plug that fell out. It just was always kind of loose from when we installed it, and I haven't gotten around to fixing it, but all the other plugs there are still in place. They've done very well. There's a light that I put in using the step harness with just a regular LED light from Amazon light strip. That's done very, very well in staying in place and functioning. I had very little luck with the lights that actually came with the step. It's actuated by a magnet in the sill here and here. I'll throw a link to the install video on these steps down below. They've functioned perfectly since we put them in. No complaints. They do have a override switch down in here, on off. If you're interested in going rock crawling, you don't have to worry about the step pulling if you open the door. Again, these are a steel rock guard, rock rail. So that's kind of the premium feature on these steps. Now, things we've also put on are these rubber sort of sill guards. Definitely recommend this so you don't scrape up the paint. It's also something that has quite a bit of grip here because it's quite smooth. The rear, although they are a bit smaller, they're definitely great if you got kids running in and out, or adults for that matter, but really the size for this back area is much more at home for children. So when looking at the Jeep kind of in summary, what has our experience been like over the last year? Well, pros, it's been really fun to drive. You'll notice there's a little bit of curb rash on the tire and nothing on the wheel itself. Having some fat sidewall has been, sort of taking a little worry on your shoulders, off your shoulders when you're driving the thing, because you don't have to worry about curb rash. Going off-road, going into the snow, it's a fun car. It's certainly not without its problems, and I'm going to go ahead and dive into those next. So I did mention earlier, engine-wise, 275 horsepower motor for the gas engine is a little bit anemic. It could have really benefited from another 50. The reason being is this Jeep, compared to, say, its non-hybrid counterparts, is a little bit fat. The battery bank is 500 pounds, so if you're gonna weigh this, compare it to another Rubicon, exactly the same setup, four-door Rubicon, this thing weighs 500 pounds more. So it's essentially like taking a fully loaded Rubicon with a whole bunch of people versus this one empty. So because of that, I think it would have really benefited with a little bit beefier power plant. Now, that's kind of a minor thing, especially if you got charge in the battery. It still moves pretty good. The next gripe we've got with this thing, really there's only been probably one major gripe that's shown up since we've installed everything we have and driven it for the last year, and that is with these sensors. This is the sort of blind spot monitoring sensor, and for some reason Chrysler Stellantis can't get it right. We've been to the dealership 4 times for it. You'll be driving along, and in the dash, in the sort of center screen on the dash in there, it'll say warning, blind spot monitoring disabled. Doesn't function for whatever reason. No reason given. I can't find much on it. If you guys in the comments know anything about it, please do enlighten me. I'd love to try and fix it myself. I'm tired of taking this to the dealer and having them replace the sensor, replace the connectors. It's just not working. They can't figure it out, and I don't think they have any idea as to what to do. So that is really the only problem. I mean, we don't really use those sensors in driving. We just kind of use the mirrors and look. But it is kind of annoying to see those just flash on and not work. All right, so to give a quick summary here, I'll say two things that we're just not quite pleased with are a little bit of lack of power in the overall gasoline engine when it's running on its own. Again, if it's got the electric motor working in tandem with it, plenty of power. Another 50 horsepower in there would have really juiced this thing up, made it absolutely fantastic to drive with the electric motor working in tandem. And if it wasn't working, you'd have enough to still, outpace a lot of traffic getting on the highway, which is nice. The other issue, a little bit of electrical gremlins going on in the mirror. Again, it's the second year, this year is the second year the 4xE was produced. So I did expect some issues, which is why we got the extended factory warranty on it. I'm glad we've gotten it. I don't think we're quite up to that paying for itself yet on the factory warranty, but we're going to be close if this mirror issue has anything to say about it. So again, those are really the only two problems. It's a very fun car to drive, a little bit loud on the highway, but if you're getting a Jeep, you've probably already figured that out when you test drove it. Very fun, you don't have to worry about dinging it, scratching it, the wheels and tires that are on here. Transfer case is a blast. I've put it in a 4-wheel low a few times. Great car to us so far, but time will tell, I think, on these electrical gremlins if they get worse or if they maintain, don't get any worse, stay the same. If they do stay the same, would I buy this car again? Probably not. And the reason being is I'd probably have bought the V8. But in terms of what it's doing for us, yeah, if you want a Jeep and you want to get 35 miles per gallon and your commute range is probably somewhere in the 25 to 30 mile range, round trip, then yeah, you can get a Rubicon 4xE on aftermarket wheels and tires and still get hybrid miles per gallon. If that is something that is of interest to you, which certainly was to my wife, which is why we did it, then yeah, you can get the coolest looking hybrid on the market. And I still think it is the coolest looking hybrid on the market. So if you enjoyed this video, like it, stay tuned, and subscribe for more.